All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Grizzly's Cave. This is Grizzly Andrew, and I have a very special guest with me today. But before I introduce him, I do want to remind the fans of the next NAW wrestling event that is coming up on Saturday, July the 12th. It is Rage in the Cage. Every wrestling match will be inside a cage match. There will also be a War Games match, and we hope you can make it out that evening. Doors will open at 6 p.m. and the event will start at 7 p.m. Ticket prices are as follows: ages 0 to 5, you get in free; ages 6 to 12, $5; and ages 13 and up, $8. Concessions are available. It is a family friendly promotion, and I promise, folks, you will not be disappointed. And we hope you can make it out. Also, I want to plug the GoFundMe account that I have been plugging on previous episodes. It is Help Ben Build a Future for Indie Wrestling Stars. The link is gofund.me/9, B as in boy, 2, F as in Frank, C as in Charles, 903. And folks, any donations would be greatly appreciated. And I know my guest today would agree with me on that. We've got to keep independent wrestling alive as long as we can. All right, folks. Well, without further ado, this young man, I met him earlier this year, and he is definitely one of those that is the future of this business. Very respectful, but also a very talented wrestler. And he actually made his professional wrestling debut last Saturday. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome to Grizzly's Cave, Freddy Banks. Mr. Banks, it is an honor and a privilege to have you on Grizzly's Cave, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be on here.
Hey, of course, of course. It means the world to be on here. Listening to Please Cave for a minute. Hey, I'm honored to.
You're cutting in and out, Mr. Banks.
Am I really?
You're good now. I hear you perfectly there.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, no, sir, you're good. You're good, man. You're good. How you been, man?
I've been doing great. I first match today, and it. I don't know. Life don't feel.
Mr. Banks. You were cutting in and out again, sir.
Am I really?
Wherever you're at, don't move. You came in perfectly. You may have to
I'm not.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good, man. I was just going to make a joke saying you may have to stand on one leg or something like that. Maybe raise up one arm. Sometimes I have to do that where I'm at.
Like getting the perfect signal.
What was that?
Like getting the perfect signal.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I do that to try to get the perfect signal. So, um, anyways, yeah, I know I wasn't able to make it to your debut, but I heard a lot of great things about the match, and I remember someone had posted a video, and you and your partner, tag team partner, came out to the stroke by Billy Squire, and I thought that was awesome. And it reminded me of the opening scene of Blades of Glory with Will Ferrell's character, and yeah, the crowd really seemed to be into it as well.
I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad they were. I really am. I got that from uh, Billy Madison with Adam Sandler when
Hmm.
he's driving up into high school. Uh, yeah, and I don't know when I was little, when I was like in the third grade, and I don't know, I like that song, so I just listened to it as I grew up, and I branched out to metal, and then I just decided I was like, hey, why not that be a song? Because I'm gonna be honest, I was working on that theme song, working on my entrance. I started training.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
Now, yeah, as I stated when I was introducing you, I met you. I met you earlier this year, and I think this January, if I'm not mistaken. Now, how long have you been training?
Um, I have been training since April of 2024.
Wow,
Yeah, it's been a minute.
wow, that's awesome, man. That is impressive. Um, I mean, you can take, like I said, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but dude, you're a hell of a talented wrestler. So, I mean, you've definitely got a bright future in this business. Just stay with it.
Of course, hearing that is the best compliment a person can give me. Truly, like it really is. Like it's all I ever wanted.
Well, you and some of the other trainees that I've trained with and stuff. I mean, I've given y'all high praises to other people and stuff, and you know, I'm a lot older than you know most of the trainees. I mean, heck, I mean uh, it's definitely a young man's business. Coming into this business at 39 years old and training. I mean, it's a little bit rougher on the body as opposed for someone that started doing this in their 20s. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Plus, I don't have as much. I don't have as much range of motion and speed as I used to back when I was younger. So,
and that's fine. I mean, I think there are some professional wrestlers out there who don't some of them don't have like crazy athleticism. Like John Cena and Ricochet. Ricochet jump over Ricochet is like something that I've never seen before. But John Cena's John. You know, like I wasn't gifted with such athletic, but I mean, hey, if I could jump up like that would be insane.
um, man, Ricochet. That's a whole man. That's a whole different animal. I remember watching that clip. It was with Velveteen Dream on NXT when Ricochet just ran and flipped over that top rope and landed on his feet outside. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had to do a retake. I was like, did I just see what I just think I saw? And I was like, I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, that was just incredible. And
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned John Cena, spit on the ground, John Cena.
Well,
Okay. Let me clarify. Hopefully, this won't be the shortest Grizzlies Cave episode. But no, I'm I'm not a I was a fan when Cena first for the first few years he came into WWE with the Doctor of Thugonomics. I really liked that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Now I will tell you, and I will tell the listeners, I do have a Funko Pop of John Cena during his Doctor of Thugonomics days. Um,
I,
so, but the Cena from hell, we'll say '06 and upward, no, wasn't a big fan. But
man, for me it's a little different. I mean, when I started watching, my favorite was John Cena,
hmm
you know, and to this day he is still my favorite. So it's kind. I mean, but I have a John Cena Funko Pop. I have like three John. I have like two John Cena hats. Like actually four.
okay,
Uh, I remember when I first seen John Cena back in 2014. It was it was John Cena, The Big Show, and RVD that they were teaming up against the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan.
hmm
And when I first seen, like when I was there, I was just crying. Like I was just so even the Cena. Like when Cena came out, bro. And I recently went to the Lexington SmackDown,
Mm-hmm.
and when Cena came out, I lost my shit again.
I understand.
Like so, dude, dude, seeing Cena is just amazing, and it is an honor to see him during his retirement tour. You know,
Sure. Sure. I mean,
and
25 years
cool.
in the business? So, yeah, 25 years in the business he's been in. I mean, man, that's a very lengthy career. I mean, I will say this, that's a big accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And he did make the company a lot of money. I'll give him that. Like somebody else, brother, Hulk Hogan. So, um,
Yeah, I could go on about John Cena. You know, I really could.
well, on one of my solo episodes, it was the last live event that well, take that back. It wasn't the last live event that I went to, but it was a house show in January of 2012, and it was the night before the 2012 Royal Rumble.
Ooh.
And Cena was the main event against Kane, and this is when Kane was coming out wearing the Predator mask and all that.
Yeah.
And let me think,
Mm.
where me and my first wife were sitting at, we were sitting on the side that was chanting the "Let's Go Cena," and on the other side it was the fans saying Cena sucks. Well, the only people that were saying Cena sucks on the side I was sitting on was me and the guy that was sitting next to me. So we were
Mm.
outnumbered by a few thousand people, on the side we were sitting on. And the after the show, I realized I didn't hadn't bought any merchandise, and I was like, I've got to buy a shirt or something. And of course, and you know as well as I do, when you go buy merchandise, you're gonna have to fork over some money.
Mm-hmm.
I think this shirt was probably $25-$30, and the only shirt I could think to get was the one that said "Let's go." It said "Let's go Cena," and then in top the top right side of the shirt it said "Cena sucks." And so I wound up buying that shirt, and there was this little kid next to me. I don't know, I'm not good at guessing an age on that. I would have said maybe between ages 5 and 8. He looked up
Yeah.
at me. He said, "How could you?"
Oh,
And I looked at him. I said, "Well, because he sucks."
wow. I remember that. I was that 5-year-old kid. No, I'm playing.
As soon as you said the first time you saw him in person in 2014, I was like, okay, good. Freddie wasn't the kid that was standing next to me. That would have been really awkward.
Man, that would be funny. I will say that. But and yeah, bro, Cena, bro. I'm telling you, bro. Cena, he's just the coolest. I could like I could go about Cena, you know.
um, well, trying to think. There was yeah, my biggest issue with Cena was, is he I hate to say it, I hate to use this analogy, but it just at one point just seemed like he was getting, shoved down the fans' throats. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't tell Vince I said fans. He'll probably find me. The WWE universe, that's the
Ooh.
correct terms. Um, it really seemed like, Cena was being force fed you know, to everybody, and, a lot of the fans weren't having it, but 2010 was a big deal for me because the Nexus. I really which they were several guys that were coming up from the first season of NXT, and they really seemed like they were getting poised for a big push. And the SummerSlam 2010 main event, it was Team WWE versus the Nexus, and
Mm.
obviously Cena was the sole survivor of that match. It was a Survivor Series style match, but it was 7-on-7, and you know, uh, and unfortunately after that, the Nexus's momentum just never picked back up. So that kind of sealed the deal. That kind of was a nail in the coffin for me. Um, but I'll say this again. I mean, the man obviously did something right. Um, he was their top guy for many, many years before he decided to kind of step back, a little bit. So, I mean, I'll give him credit on that. And, I mean, he did make Vince a lot of money, just like Hulk Hogan did. So, what is your favorite John Cena match?
Ooh, my favorite John Cena match. Now, this question is a hard question, being honest. Well, okay, I'd say people hate on it. People be hating on it, but it it might have to be WrestleMania 29 Rocker Part 2 because I love it and how he gets the respect he deserves and they go down to the stage and Cena's music is playing. He's holding the title and the Rock giving him his respect. But also another match that I have to mention is Royal Rumble 20, John Cena versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. That match was insane, and I was actually watching that live. I wasn't there, but I was watching it live, and actually I was watching Turkey, and yeah, just kept Cena the whole time.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that match. The I was at my buddy's house in Madisonville, and I would usually go to his house every month to watch the pay-per-views. He's act This is it was actually because of him I first heard of Roku and the Amazon Fire Stick, and I remember us watching that match. Because I remember that match they had at the SummerSlam 2016, AJ and Cena, and I mean, I really thought it was I actually thought it was a really great match. Um, when we saw the 2017 match when Cena won, we were like, "Oh my gosh!" It was a group of us. There was a bunch of groans when that happened. I ain't gonna lie to you, but that was a big accomplishment for him. You know what I mean?
Of
Um,
course, I mean, but I mean another thing, yeah, versus Nexus. Yeah, I I was a little kid. I loved it. I loved every second of it. Like looking back on it, they definitely put Cena down throats. No fine, but they put Cena down their throats. Now I think about it, but I was a little kid. I didn't care. I loved Cena, and I think they just did it for the kids because it was the PG era and stuff like that.
right.
So it had to be because of that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I mean, that he got PG era. That's when he really got the nickname Super Cena. And again, I get it. Vince was notorious about pushing superheroes. I mean, he pushed Hogan from '84 to early '93. And
Mm-hmm.
and he did the same thing with Cena from '05 till you know let me think, when did he step back? It was, I guess we'd say, probably 2017.
Who stepped back, Cena?
Yes, sir. Yeah, when he kind of went back to when he was going to more of a part-time schedule.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah. You're kind of right. It was about. I want to say it was 2016, 2017. Yeah, that. Yeah, that's when I went to start moving to the Hollywood.
Right. I'll
Yeah, at
I-
that time. Yeah.
I'll never forget that epic promo, and I'm sure you've seen it, but for the fans that haven't, if you haven't seen it, Look up Roman Reigns John Cena promo from Raw of 2017,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh
That promo got got a little nasty. It seemed like.
oh yeah.
I swear. Oh me,
Man.
I was
He told
go ahead, go ahead, man.
no, sorry. He said that you don't know how to do your job, man. Oh
Oh me, and then he also what he also said to Roman, this is it's called a promo, son.
oh my, that is diabolical. Like no, Cena. I'm telling you, bro. Cena. I think Cena's my top three best promo cutters of all time.
um, yeah, I mean yeah, he could cut he could get some he had some good real gosh. Sorry, man. So sometimes I have a lot of thoughts in my head running through and I'm trying to get it all out and I can't verbalize it, but yeah, he was good on the mic. Most definitely. He was very he was charismatic, most definitely. Um Yeah, unfortunately that night Roman was kind of having a rough night, but then when he started throwing out the stuff, he said, "Well, first reason I came out here, John, was to tell you that you suck."
Ooh,
Oh, yeah, that was pretty classic. Yeah, I'd have to say, hands down, probably one of my favorite promo battles and stuff. I guess you could say. Uh,
oh
but Oh, it really would have been nice to have seen him and Undertaker have more of a feud. I mean, I know they
uh,
had some matches, but I mean, it would have been nice to have seen them have a little bit more time together. You know.
didn't they? Yeah, didn't Undertaker and Cena have like a few like two in like oh 04?
So let's see. Back in 2003, they had a little bit of a rivalry back when Taker was still the biker, and
Mm,
I know fans say, you know, obviously the dead man is their favorite gimmick, and I'll agree with them. But you know, I was more of a fan of his biker gimmick back, you know, for the few years that he did it. But '03 they had a rivalry and they had a match at Vengeance 2003. Now they did have. I know they had a match in 2004. This was around the time that the Dudleys and Paul Heyman had abducted Paul Bear and was using the Undertaker to do Paul Heyman's bidding. So yeah, they did have a match then. But that's mainly been about it. Now they had a match at let's see WrestleMania. I guess this would have been 34. It was a short match where Taker won, but that's about the only Taker Cena matches that I remember. I'm sure they
yeah,
I'm sure they had a bunch of house show matches and stuff, you know, but
yeah. I do wish there was more Undertaker versus Cena. I wish that they would have thrown down back in like '07, '08. That would have done.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been nice, but '07 that's when Taker made history. He was the first ever Royal Rumble entrant that entered at number 30 and actually won the thing. And
Really?
yep, yep, 2007. I mean, you got to think Royal Rumbles have been going on since 1988. And he was the first person to enter at number 30 and actually won the Royal Rumble match.
Wow.
And yeah, exactly.
What? I didn't even know that.
Yes, sir. Um, and at the time, Cena was WWE champion. Batista was the world heavyweight champion, and then Bobby Lashley was the ECW champion. And Taker wound up challenging Batista, and which those two, up until that point, they had not. I'm sure that again, I'm sure they worked house show matches, but they had never had a match live event wise ever. So I mean, that was kind of a match that I would say that I would say that
That
people were looking forward to. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that is just so cool. That I think I think WWE was really good at that time because if I remember correctly, that I think they were fighting for the fight. Cena and Shawn Michaels were gonna go one, and Batista and Undertaker were gonna go 1-on-1. And if I recall, I think there was a fight back, something like that. What fight? But I remember I think Batista might have been mad at Vince for not
uh,
making him.
um Freddie, you were cutting in and out on that, boss man.
Oh man, again.
That's okay. I'll make sure Vince doesn't fine you for that. So,
Thank you. Do not. Yeah, I don't want to be fine.
uh, but I think I caught what you were saying. Taker and Batista were wanting a main event at that WrestleMania, but Vince had went
Yeah.
with Shawn and Cena. Yeah, yeah. Hell, I don't. I it's been a while since I watched that WrestleMania. I don't even think Taker and Batista were even semi-main. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was a couple more matches after theirs before Cena and Shawn main evented.
If I remember correctly, if I remember correctly, they were the mid card.
Yeah, and I don't know why they started doing this because tradition was if you won the Rumble, you main evented at WrestleMania. But then they had that, and where they were like you said about midway in on the card. And hell, nowadays you win the Rumble, you're more than likely going to be opening match. Which and there's nothing wrong with the opening match. I mean that sets the tone. That sets the tone. That sets the pace for the pay per view.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hell, I'm sure Freddie, if you were in the WWE and you won the Rumble, you won a main event. You know you you know what I'm
Oh
saying. So
yeah. One day we'll make it there. It's an all-time dream to make it to the WWE. If I'm being honest.
well, Bud, like I said, you stick around in this business, you keep doing what you're doing, you've definitely got a damn good shot at it. Your tag team partner. I know Mars has been. He made his debut for Naw a few months ago, and you three kids, definitely have a good shot at WWE or AEW or Japan or wherever it is that you guys want to go to. Y'all just stick with the business and stuff, and I think y'all definitely got a good shot. So
Oh
um,
yeah.
you just keep doing what you're doing, and I'll even throw his name out there too, Chris Crash. I mean, just
Woo!
man, incredible worker. For a bigger guy, definitely a damn good worker, and um, yeah, I really like that gimmick too. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Like
being the gamer and all that. So, um, well, brother, we'll jump back in to WWE and your best buddy John Cena and all that. My arch nemesis, as I would call him. But I want to hear about your debut match at Evansville. So, I mean, just tell us all about it, man. How it went, and I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that your nerves were probably a little bit. I don't want to say shot, but I'm sure there was a lot of a little bit of nervousness and stuff for your first match.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah, me and Xerxia, at first I was nervous and he wasn't. But at the time I got less nervous. He got more nervous.
Well, what helped you calm your nerves?
just being in the ring with such a veteran like JC Flash, being in the ring with him made me so comfortable.
Yeah. Uh,
And and Mars was there too. And Mars and JC, they're both extraordinary performers. Mars is really JC. I have to give everything. Like honestly, there are two people that I wouldn't be here today without, and that is Ben Johnson and JC Flash. Those two have made me who I am today, and that's just that.
yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You sharing the ring with those two in that match. I mean that I'm sure words can't. I've never had the luxury of getting to share the ring with those guys. I mean, but you know, I have been able to share the ring with some trainees and stuff and all that. And I mean, just being able to share the ring with you guys on that. That's fucking awesome. But dude, I mean, I would love to be able to share a ring with those two as well. So I mean, that's that's definitely got to speak volumes to the hard work you've put in and stuff, as well as Xerxia. Um,
Oh,
but you mentioned Ben Johnson. Uh, I never thought that the guy that I did some movies with back in 2013. I never would have thought he would have wound up being being my coach. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's crazy how life like this tricks.
um, let me think. What was there? I couldn't really see the size of the crowd. Was there? Was it a pretty good sized crowd? Like I guess I would say typical for what we have at Naw.
Yeah, I looked out at the crowd, and it was about 150 people, 200 people, and that's good to me. That's really
Oh,
debut match.
oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah, it was nice. It was really nice.
Oh man, yeah. Because the whoever recorded y'all's entrance and stuff, I was kind of looking around. I was like, well, dang. I was like, it kind of looks like a small crowd, but damn, 152. Damn, that's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Man,
it
that's
was
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, I'm blessed to be in. Really, I mean, and during the match, look, I'm thankful that I shot JC. He
Mm,
don't usually, let people do that.
hmm. Well, I'm gonna assume that there were some chops back, right?
Oh yeah, no, he chopped me first.
Oh, he chopped you first.
Oh yeah, he chopped me first. And dude, I mean, I'm just over here trying to get my son. Of course I'm gonna chop him back. No, disrespect, of course,
uh,
but
um,
yeah.
I know after the match, someone there were some photos taken, and I saw that your chest was red. I was like, oh, I was like, I bet he got lit up. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. It was yeah. After that, it was amazing. Came to me and she cried. It was amazing. My
uh,
dad was there.
uh, you broke up on me. You said your mom and your dad were both there.
Yeah, my mom and dad were both there. My mom was crying.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, she was.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Actually, let me backtrack. Was she crying because she thought she got hurt, or was it a mixture of being concerned but also being proud of you?
It was more of like it was more of she's proud of me more, you know.
Sure.
And I'm just thankful for wrestling. So I gotta say.
Yes.
And oh, also after the match, a lot of people came up and took pictures with us.
Oh yeah.
A lot, yeah. And I was just amazed that a lot of people wanted pictures.
what was that? What was that feeling like whenever people were wanting to get pictures with you?
It felt like I finally accomplished something in life, you know?
Hmm.
Like I needed to do something, and I finally felt like I've done something. If that makes
You cut out on me, but yeah, no, that makes perfect sense what you just said. Yeah, yeah.
man, I'm cutting out, dude.
Do what, buddy?
I said I'm sorry for cutting out, bro.
Oh, oh, you're gonna be sorry. You ain't gonna have to worry about you ain't gonna have to worry about Vince McMahon finding you. You're gonna have to worry about Grizzly Andrew finding you, buddy.
Oh yeah, why ain't cutting out? I don't know why I'm cutting out. I mean, I'm just sitting here on, like I'm not moving my anything.
Buddy, I don't know either. You're actually the first one that I've actually done this through my actual cell phone instead of the Google Voice app and stuff. But I mean, I hear you better on through the phone than I do the Google Voice app. I've got to do some more digging, see if I can maybe find a better program or something. Because yeah, this is yeah, I don't know, man. Gotta love technology, right?
Technology,
Now,
man. Yeah,
go go ahead. I'm
that's.
sorry.
I'm. I remember at TW, that's where we were, and I remember me and Xerxia, we were backstage, and we just heard our music playing, and we were just thankful, you know.
Absolutely. Uh, oh, dude. I mean, buddy, I can't even imagine. I mean, I'm hoping for the day that I get to, be able to get into the ring and, you know, wait for my music to hit and, and be able to walk out and see and see the fans and everything. I mean, I definitely can't wait for when that moment happens. Uh,
Yeah, it's a very real feeling.
um, let me think. Uh, so you said you started. Well, actually, well, before we get back to the training, you play sports, or did you play sports before you started training?
Uh, I mean, I played basketball in the third grade.
And that's it.
Yeah,
I would not have
I,
guessed that. I would have
I work
thought. I would have.
out.
Go ahead.
I work out, but it's about it.
Well, I would have thought you were like an average, like I hate to use the word jock, but I would have thought you might have been a jock. I mean, with your athleticism and stuff, and no, I know you work out. We've trained together, so yeah, I know you work out.
Thank.
You're, very, definitely got a really good athleticism and stuff. But yeah, I thought you might have done like, basketball or, like currently doing basketball or something like that. Um, I played sports until I was 15. I played baseball, just summer league. I did try a year of, I tried a year of basketball back when I was, I guess, 11. I freaking hate basketball. Or I hated it just because of the coach I had. Um, he was like, he was like you know who Bobby Knight is, or ever heard the name?
I might have.
Well, he was a collegiate basketball coach. Let's see, it was I believe he coached at Indiana. He was well known for getting thrown out of games, throwing chairs, onto the basketball court and all that. And he eventually got let go from Indiana because he got I think because of a confrontation he had with one of his players, and I think he wound up going down to one of the Texas schools. It might have been Texas A&M, but I can't be for certain. But the coach I had, he was kind of like Bobby Knight. He just never got thrown out of games. But yeah, I just I
So
mean,
your coach was throwing chairs.
no, 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 no. My coach wasn't. He was. Let me specify. No, no, he didn't throw chairs, but I'll be. But honestly, if he got even more mad, I'm sure some chairs would have been flying eventually. So, but no, I wasn't a big fan of him. Um, then later on, I probably about 2 years after I finished baseball. Well, I tried a year of summer, not high school baseball. I did a year of that, and man, that felt like having a job that you just didn't get paid for, and so I was done with that. And a couple of years later, that's when I started working out. So I started working out whenever I was 17. So I've been going at it for about 22 years. So,
Oh,
but
that's good.
yeah, yeah, it is good. Ultimate Warrior was my motivation to start working out. Actually, I
Oh, that I like that.
I had back when VCRs, which let's see, um, for a lot of our for any of our younger listeners, VCRs were the thing back in the day before DVD players, and then eventually before the streaming came into play. But I would watch classic wrestling tapes, and I even bought a few that they would have at the video stores, which hell, video stores are becoming a thing of the past now, or music stores, whatever you want to say. And yeah, Warrior was a different kind of animal back then, and that was my motivation. I wanted to look like him, but that not to speak ill of the dead, God rest his soul, but that definitely took some performance enhancing drugs, to look like that. So, but yeah, that he was my motivation to work out. I wanted to be like him. So,
I understand. Everyone has a motivator. Uh, when I started training back in April 2024, a fire just lit inside me. And once I started training, started taking working out seriously. Before I started training, I would work out for like 3 months and stop for nine.
you would work out when?
Like back then, before I started training, I would work out for like 3 months, stop for nine.
Oh wow,
Like I had a problem of sticking to a routine.
sure.
But once I started training, that was my motivator because it's professional wrestling. You got to look your greatest.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since then, a fire was lit inside me, and I just kept going, kept working out every day.
Yeah, man. Back in my early 20s when I was in college, I had started a routine, and I mean it. I saw results, um, but buddy, I was going like 2 to 3 hours a day.
Oh,
I mean, and uh, I tried to go 7 days a week. Sometimes I couldn't do that. Like I said, I did see results. I mean, my physique did improve drastically. Um, but man, it burns your body out, and you got to give your body time to rest as well. Um, but also my body could recover quicker. Trying to do that now at age 39, no, the body don't recover as quickly as it used to back then. Now when I work out, it's about an hour tops. And see, back then I was doing more uh, focusing on certain muscle groups, whereas 2014 was when I got in was whenever I started doing some research and found out about benefits of compound lifts, and that's pretty much what I focus on. I really don't do a lot of isolated workouts anymore. It's just mainly compound lifts, to get more bang for your buck, as they like to say.
yeah,
But you make a very valid point. You've got to look the part, but you've also got to have good cardiovascular training too.
that is
Um,
true.
and or else you'll wind up being like Warrior again. Not speaking ill of the dead, because he was one of my favorite wrestlers. Um, but he'd run to the ring and he was blown up. you know,
That
his
I
cardio was
that's
not what it
crazy.
needed to be, unfortunately.
cardio is literally this goes out to all the wrestlers out there or people who wants to be wrestlers. Do cardio after your workout, please. Just do cardio after your workout.
Um, yeah, and and I mean, I mean, you could do, I mean, hell, you could walk for 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, or, or even if you wanted to do an hour, but, or do elliptical or run or something. I mean, it's like what Freddie said, you got to do cardio because you don't want to be, sucking wind, they're, you know, 2 minutes into your match and all that.
Mhm. Yeah, there. Seen, I've seen it sometimes how where people will be blown up and they can't continue.
Hmm.
I've seen it, and it's very important. Cardio is really important.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I thank God I've worked out for all these years, but Freddie, I'll shoot straight with you. I hate cardio.
Yeah, too.
uh, uh, I don't. I think about some of my injuries I've accumulated over the years. I mean, I've got some hard cartilage missing in my right knee. I've got bone spurs in my low back. I've had multiple shoulder injuries, not like torn rotator cuff type injuries, but like where, I was either lifting too heavy or just using bad technique and it wound up catching me and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and like I said, I never was much on cardio, but ironically, where I'm working at now, which I mentioned it on my last episode with Coy Daniels, I'm working at Carhartt, so I'm making that long drive to work. But my job, I'm getting a lot of walking in, a shit ton of walking, and climbing up and down ladders if I have to fix belt jams and stuff like that. So I mean, you
Mhm.
know, so people when we say cardio, again, you don't have to. It don't mean running, sprinting, jogging, or riding a bike. I mean, which those are good cardio exercises. But I mean, heck, just going, walking, doing something to get that heart going. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm. Yeah, it's true.
um, do you have any best lifts that you want to share with the audience?
What do you mean by best lifts?
Like your max on certain exercises?
Oh, me when I every time I work out, whatever it is, I always do it to failure.
Okay.
And like this might sound stupid, but I have never counted reps when working out. I just never have.
Really?
Yeah, I never have. I'm too busy training for failure. Like I train the muscle to failure.
Okay.
Like I don't know. It sounds stupid, but for me it works.
No, no, it don't sound stupid. I actually did that back in the summer of '08. Actually. Um, I had gotten sick with strep throat, and buddy, flu, strep throat, stuff like that knocks me on my ass, man. And I know it knocks other people on their asses too. But I lost weight. Um, I wasn't able to work out for about a week, and I was having a hard time kind of building my body back up, and plus I was working full time during the summer at Aldi's in Hopkinsville, and I was also interning at the probation and parole office over in Christian County to go towards my college credits, and I remember it was actually ironically, Ultimate Warrior was training for his final match against Orlando Jordan, and he was talking about how he was doing like a lot of reps and stuff like that. So I kind of started doing that. Like I was taking the previous regimen I was doing, and I would do as many reps as I could, whether it was the starting weight or the last whatever last weight that I lifted and stuff. So no, no, I mean that there's nothing wrong with that. You go till your body says no more. You know, so
Mhm.
No, that's actually good regimen.
Body.
But that was during my 2 and 3 hour workout phase back in the day. So
Yeah, I understand that. Sometimes I have 4 hour workout. I understand that. Yeah, yeah. And usually after I'm done, I'm done.
well, I've went almost 4 hours. I think 3.5 is about the longest I've went. But that's been a very long time ago. Yeah, I definitely couldn't do that today. Um, but no, you're young. You can recover quickly from that. But I will tell you, when you get to my age, you ain't gonna want to do those 4 hour workouts
I
anymore.
bet. Hey, I bet. I bet. I mean, sometimes it kind of depends on the day and the mood. You
Sure.
know, like I could go in the gym for like 30 minutes and get out. I'm tired. I feel like crap.
Yeah.
But sometimes I go in the gym, I feel great, and I work out for 4 hours. You know, it depends on the mood, really. I mean, it really does.
Oh no, dude, I get it. Have you ever tried to? Well, this this is kind of the reason some of my workouts would go really long. Have you ever tried doing your lift train to failure and then pyramid it back and you know what I'm saying? Like do as many as you can, progressing upward, and then once you hit your peak, then you know pyramid down and still try to do however many reps you can. Have you ever tried that before?
Do you mean like, do you mean like working out, going to failure, then lowering the weight, keep going? Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have done that before. I do that on the lat pull downs and stuff.
That's a good exercise to do that with.
Hmm. It's easy. I don't really want to do it with dumbbells. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I drop my dumbbells to grab lighter dumbbells and keep going. I don't know. For me, I
Well, like you would stop in between sets, and take a minute or 2 minute break or something like that. No, I mean that would give your body a little chance to recoup and stuff. But yeah, no, but I get that too. I don't really train with dumbbells. I like my barbell plates and some machines. But
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I understand.
Um. So you had said TCW. You're for Total Chaos Wrestling. Is that correct?
Total chaos. Yes, total chaos wrestling.
Are you gonna be in? Are you gonna be wrestling for them anytime soon, or is there any other promotions up there that have reached out to you to come wrestle for them?
Um, so I might be going back to TCW in August.
Okay.
A TCW show July 12th down at Evansville, Indiana. But there's also a Naw wrestling show going down July 12th in
Right.
Nebo, Kentucky.
Right.
So I kind of have like a choice,
Hmm.
and I'm probably gonna go Naw because I'm gonna be announcing there, and I train before the shows,
Okay.
so I'm I want to get in my craft in first before I go out and go wild in the indies, you know.
Well, that is very wise, and I commend you for that. That you want to hone your craft before you go off to another show. So I mean, definitely kudos to you, and thank God you'll be announcing. Um, Gosh dang, I'm so glad that freaking loudmouth Slugger Jackson ain't up there behind that table anymore, man. Fucking loudmouth. But what's even worse is hell, he's over at the dang ring and stuff and all that now. Oh
Oh, an idiot, man, an idiot.
man, buddy, you ain't kidding. Yeah, I'll put it to you this way: that's one person I've never asked to be on my podcast. I'll put it to you that way. So,
He
um,
better never come on this podcast.
do what?
He better never come on this podcast. I hope, I hope, man. When I really start wrestling and all wrestling, I'm telling you, I'm going right for him.
Right out of the gate, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he has pissed off
Right.
many of people. He has pissed off many of people and stuff. So I mean, no, dude, I totally get it. Uh,
Maybe I'm a little scared of him.
do what?
Maybe I'm a little scared.
Well, I mentioned Mars earlier. Heck, he freaking cheap shotted Mars, and I was really surprised he decked him with a clothesline. That really shocked me. Um, but you announced at the last Snow event, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, you saw Slugger getting in all his cheap shots and all that. I swear he's a tough son. He's a tough son of a bitch and stuff when somebody's down or worn out, fatigued, etc. He's a tough son of a bitch, but man,
Yeah, I like it when he's getting his ass kicked.
so do I. When I'm sitting with the fans in attendance and stuff, and I'm seeing him get beat up. I mean, it gives me great pleasure. I mean, it was a pleasure seeing him getting flash splashed back in March, but man, I really love seeing him getting flattened like a pancake back at the May show. Um, but for some reason, he winds up still getting his hands on a microphone,
Mm-hmm.
and
He
it's
does.
and it's like, God, no more. I mean, somebody cut that guy's mic off, man. It,
Oh man.
if he happens to get a microphone at the next show, I think somebody needs to cut it. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. All he
Um,
does is talk shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's all
That's
he does.
that's all he does. And Coy Daniels mentioned about he's mentioned about that dang jacket before that he wears. I mean, fuck. I mean, I don't know. I said on the last episode, I don't know. Actually, I don't know where he got the jacket from, but I hope he kept the receipt because man, or whoever sold it to him, give that person a pay raise because I mean that they're obviously a good salesperson, So,
Yeah.
um,
That jacket, man. We we hey, it, you know that jacket that me and Xerxia had in our debut match going in our entrance?
yes, sir.
Yeah, we actually came up with that idea that for our match.
Really,
Yeah. So that jacket, me and Xerxia, we are huge Walking Dead fans. Like,
really.
yes, that is my favorite TV show. That is his favorite TV show. The Walking Dead is our favorite TV show. We love it.
Oh man, that's and I'm not knocking the show. I'm not knocking the show at all. I mean, it was very, obviously, very successful show. For some reason, man, I just couldn't get into it. And it's not, and I'm not saying that it's because the show was bad, because the show, the episodes I watched were actually good. But I just couldn't get into it for some reason. Um, I,
It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone.
I, I guess, man, I never was much into zombies. You know what I'm saying? Because if I watch scary movies, you think of Candyman or Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees and stuff and all that.
Freddy.
I just never could get. I just never could get into the zombie thing. But I know The Walking Dead was very successful, and um, God, how many seasons did that show have?
There is 16 season. No, wait, no. There is 16 episodes in each season, and there's 11 seasons.
Oh man. Um, one of
I
the
love it.
Go ahead.
Sorry, but I love it though. I watched The Walking Dead. I rewatched The Walking Dead like 3 times, 11 seasons 3 times. That jacket is the main character, Rick Grimes.
Oh,
Rick Grimes' jacket.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, he gets that jacket in season 5,
Mm-hmm.
and once he puts on that jacket, he's just a different human being, you know.
Yeah.
And I love season 5 Rick Grimes, and Xerxes does too. So, and freshman year of high school, my high school,
Mm-hmm.
I bought that jacket online for $160.
Really?
Yes, I bought that jacket for $160, and it came in the mail. I opened the box, and there's two jackets. There's two of those.
Oh man,
So I got two Rick Grimes jackets for $160,
that's a hell of a
and
deal.
it is one hell of a deal. And Xerxes came to my crib, and I just gave him one of those jackets. And years later, I'm like, "You still got that jacket?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Put it in your wrestling bag. We're wearing it tomorrow."
Hell yeah.
That's how it happened.
Hell yeah. Oh man, that buddy, that was destiny right there for you. You know, back then, that was fucking destiny for you.
It reminds
Um,
me of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes had a jacket like that when he was in the Indies.
was this are you referring to after his WWE run, like when he was Stardust and all that?
Yeah,
I
this was after.
I didn't really follow much of his career at immediately after. It actually wasn't until I started watching New Japan, but I'll have to I got to go back and look that up, man. I'm glad you mentioned that, but
Cody Rhodes after WWE in the Indies. I didn't know about him either, like until like he came back to WWE. Once he came back to WWE, I wondered where he'd been, what he was doing, and turns out he was an absolute badass in the Indies.
um, buddy, I don't know if you've ever seen this match, but I know you've heard me mention New Japan and stuff on previous episodes. There was a match that he had with Kenny Omega at it was in July of 2018, and it was they called it the G1 Climax. It's usually a show they would do over here in the states before they did their G1 round robin tournament. And oh my god, dude, that match that him and Omega had was fucking unbelievable. And uh, man, there was one part of the match. Well, let me backtrack. This is about a month after Omega had won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship from Kazuchika Okada, and that was another fucking awesome match. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match, but it went like 60 minutes. Actually, I think it went over 60 minutes.
What?
Oh my god, dude! Oh wow, just the I love that. Yeah, I'm big Omega fan back from his New Japan days, and I've said I want Jimmy Cornette on this podcast to talk wrestling with him, but I'm sure
Oh,
but I'm sure because I'm an Omega fan, that's just gonna fucking kill it for me, and it sucks. But I understand, but I understand his reasoning too. But anyways, yeah, if you get a chance, if you can find that on YouTube, look that match up. But I will tell you this: I won't tell you who won, but I'll tell you this: there is a spot in the match they get this big, massive ladder. Had to have been a 15 foot 15-foot ladder or maybe bigger. They go to the top of this fucking ladder and it's poised outside of the ring and they're already way above the top turnbuckle. Well, Cody Rhodes superplexes Omega back into the ring from the very top of this ladder, and I'm like, oh, I mean, and it fucking hurt me when they landed. You know what I'm saying? And brutal spot. But I mean, it got the crowd up and roaring at that point. But yeah, that'll be something maybe for you to look at. But yeah, Cody Rhodes in New Japan, he was a badass. He was um, he he wound up becoming he eventually became the leader of the Bullet Club. Which Omega was a part of, and there was like you know in faction like in faction fighting, kind of similar to what the NWO did back in '98 back in 1998 with the Wolfpack versus the Black and White and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty awesome. So,
That is
um,
that's nice.
um, I, I've heard.
Cody Rhodes.
Go ahead.
I I'm sorry, but yeah, Cody Rhodes. That bump that you said that they had on that ladder.
Hmm.
That reminds me. Did you see Nick Willis versus Mars?
I was there. I was there for the show. I sat in attendance and I saw that. I thought, oh my god, I was like, I know his back's got to be messed up from that.
You know what bump I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
That was the craziest bump I have seen, like at an all wrestling. 100%.
Man, I'll tell.
Like,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, buddy.
Definitely one of the craziest bumps I've ever seen. And there's two bumps at an all wrestling that are really nice. That I really like, really remember. One of them was obviously Nick Willis taking that hellacious on the apron.
Hmm.
And another bump was Super Showdown at in the steel cage match between JC Flash and AC Flash or Alexander Cage.
You talk the Spanish Fly that they did at the very end.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. Well, actually, I'm gonna throw one in here in just a second, but I do want to plug this. It's looking like I'll have Nick Willis as a guest tomorrow.
What?
He might actually. He'll probably be in person here at the cave, and I'm a little worried because I've talked a lot of shit about his manager Slugger Jackson. So,
Ooh.
um, but yeah, man, Nick Willis. Oh my God, he is such a fucking incredible wrestler, and
Really good.
I can't wait to sit and down and talk with him. But I'm also really fucking nervous too because I don't want to get my ass kicked, in my own home and stuff and all that. So um,
Dude,
yeah, so I may be having to. I may be needing to call JC Flash or Coy Daniels, see if they can come give me some backup and stuff because you know it's a possibility the nightmares might be coming as well, and
oh,
yeah. So, but no, right now it's looking like he might be here in person tomorrow. Um,
really?
yes, sir.
Well,
But go ahead.
uh, sorry, but I'm just letting you know. Tell him I said hello. But also, if he lays a finger on you, I'm gonna make sure to beat his ass one day.
I'll make sure to pass the message on and stuff. And I'll make sure to take a before picture after I say that, or whenever I say it, and then after I regain consciousness, I'll take an after picture and stuff, of what happens, but
Yeah.
but man, God, he is such an incredible wrestler, such an incredible wrestler. And there was a match he had, and I believe I mentioned it on my last episode. It was him and Casanova, uh, and it wasn't even a main event match. It was third or fourth match, and buddy, I mean that hands down to me. This was at the September show of this past year. Hands down, I would say that was match of the night. I mean there was no, it wasn't for a title or anything. Just hands down. I mean, just a fucking incredible match. And I mean those two tore it down. But I mean Nick tears it up every match he's out there. You know, and just an incredible wrestler. But now at the Super Show, there was also the cage match before the main event. It was Jolly Rogers versus S&M, and
I remember that.
Captain North took that massive superplex a good ways up the cage and stuff, and I was like, "Holy shit, did that just happen?" Oh man,
I remember that. I remember I was.
You cut out on me. What was that?
Oh, I said I remember that. I was there for that.
Yeah, yeah, I had actually shown up um there towards the end of y'all's training and stuff and all that. And there was a big group and stuff. I'm sure you were there, but don't remember I don't really remember many people and stuff because I don't remember who all was there because I was nervous going in there to do some things and but yeah, that Super Show was quite a spectacle. And then then we got to see that loudmouth piece of shit commentator show up at the end of the cage match and fucking punched out Brooksy uh, two different times in that night.
I remember on the floor. I have a picture of him just on the floor, dead. Like, yeah, I look back on it and oh, it's perfect. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brooksy, but it's perfect. It's a perfect picture.
Yeah, that was a rough night for Brooksy, and
Uh,
and then Slugger, which of course we didn't. Yeah, hell, nobody knew what this idiot's name was and stuff. I mean, hell, we knew him as the guy that wore the James Kendrick shirt, when he started commentating, and then at the Super Show he's wearing a frickin' looks like a damn lumberjack, or as Hoodbilly Kyle like to refer to him as a Timu Brawny man or whatever. Speaking of which, fuck you, Kyle. Um,
Man,
yeah, fuck you, Kyle. But yeah, I remember Slugger got in there, and like I said, we didn't know what his name was, but he got in there. He started beating up on JC, and while JC was handcuffed to the cage and stuff and all that, and then after that, that's when Johnny Hardwood and Coy Daniels came down, and they beat up Alexander Cage and Slugger Jackson, and I was sitting there with the fans, and we all erupted when that happened. And yeah, that was a memorable night.
that,
And Slugger Jackson, if you're listening to this, fuck you too, man. Um, yeah, honestly, Freddie, I'm like you. If whenever I make my debut, I believe I'd want my debut to be against Slugger Jackson. I'd like to kick his ass and stuff. Um,
too. Wait until he gets in the ring.
do what?
I'm waiting till Slugger gets in the ring.
Well,
It is
go ahead.
over when because once I make my all wrestling debut, it's over for him. It's over for him all.
He might as well just go ahead and tap out as soon as the bell rings, right?
He might as well. I'm gonna bring down like those ramen noodle chopsticks. You know what I mean? Those like not chopsticks. Though, yeah, those those chopsticks with noodles.
Uh huh.
I'm gonna bring those to the ring. Shove them in his ass.
You cut out on me. You cut out on me, boss man. What was that?
I'm sorry. No, I said I'm gonna bring those chopsticks and shove them up his ass.
Well, so what you're saying is what you're saying is you're gonna humble him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't say that ever again. Don't eat.
Uh,
Shit talking.
well, well, I would say he definitely anything that happens to him, he deserves it for all the shit he's pulled and all the shit he's talked and how much he's run down JC Flash, and and JC Flash, he's such a respected veteran of this business, and and I've said this on my podcast. He I think very highly of him. He's been nothing but good to me since I came around, and JC just an incredible man, and and
Yeah,
you know,
he is.
got nothing but the utmost respect for him. And I know you probably listened to the if you I don't know if you have, but I think it was part 3 with me and JC. It was about how we met and stuff, about how me and him met, and he thought I was a mark.
Really.
Yeah.
I like Mark in the beginning of this pod talking about Cena.
Well, and I mean, me talking about Ultimate Warrior and Undertaker, I mean, definitely I'll mark out for that. And now I will tell you this. Let's see. Obviously, you know who the Road Warriors are.
Yeah.
The late Animal, Hawk and Animal. But WWF had their well, people will say it was their version of the Road Warriors, but I'm referring to Axe and Smash of Demolition.
Oh,
That is my favorite tag team of all time. And
really?
yes, sir. And they were big brawlers. They were powerhouses. But when their music hit, when you heard Rick Derringer singing Demolition, like what everybody else has said, when you heard that music, you knew somebody was going to get their ass kicked.
Oh yeah.
And
I like that.
I actually do. I'll jam out to their music sometimes when I'm either walking into the gym or walking out of the gym. So I mean, I will mark out for that. There was I did find a mashup version of their song with it was mashed up with the late Vader when Vader's WWF theme song.
Yeah.
It's still on YouTube. I'll say this to you and any of the listeners: give that a listen to. It's pretty badass. So, um,
Yeah.
but let me see here. We'll
I don't think
go ahead.
I'm gonna.
What were you saying?
I don't think you're gonna like what I'm gonna say.
Go right ahead, man.
I only know Demolition because of the WWE 12 video game.
But buddy, no, I wouldn't get upset or get mad at that. I mean, you're you're a lot younger than me and stuff. I get that. No, no, you're good. But yeah, to be quite honest with you, brother, I'm really surprised that Vince waited as fucking long as he, or well, I don't really know how much Vince had to say with those games, but yeah, I was pretty stoked when I saw that they were finally going to be in a game, and it hell, they should have been in the Hall of Fame a long, long time ago.
Hey, I 100% agree with you. I truly do.
So I will give you a little bit of a backstory on them. Um, so back back in 1990, which this was right before they brought the Road Warriors in, and they were when the Road Warriors came in, they pretty much killed off Demolition. Even though they were still wrestling and stuff. So Axe, he had had some health issues. Um, he had suffered from anaphylactic shock from accumulating so much or eating so much shellfish. Apparently, he was allergic to shellfish and didn't know it.
Oh,
And when he would go over to Japan, he ate a lot of shellfish, and he had suffered from anaphylactic shock. So they kind of transitioned to him to more of a manager role. He would still go out for the match, still be wearing his gear and his paint and stuff and all that. And that's when they brought Crush, the late Brian Adams, God rest his soul. And well, he was actually starting to do. They were kind of grooming him to maybe be an agent backstage. Kind of like Pat Patterson and Blackjack Lanza, Gerald Briscoe. All them. Doing behind the scenes stuff. Well, supposedly some of the promises were becoming empty promises, which McMahon is very well known for. And Vince McMahon, if you ever hear this, I don't give a rat's ass. It's the fucking truth. And their Axe ain't the only one that said that. So you know what? Fuck you, Vince.
shoot
Um,
time.
yes, this 100% shoot. Yeah, fuck you, Vince.
Oh, shoot time.
Um, so Axe's last appearance for the company was actually at the 1990 Survivor Series. He was in a uh well, they called it the classical, traditional, whatever you want to call it. I fucking love Survivor Series back in the day. I thought the match concept was awesome, where they had four or five on each side, and it was an elimination style match. Unfortunately, he was the first eliminated from his team, and that was the last time you saw him on WWF television. Uh,
Really?
yes, sir. Uh,
Reminds me of when got slammed through the table at the Royal Rumble and just didn't return for 10 years.
who was that?
It kind of reminds me of CM Punk got
Oh,
put through that table at Royal Rumble, ever WWE television again.
yeah.
10 years.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll jump back to that in a second. But after Axe left, Smash and Crush, they still wrestled together, for maybe about another year, and then they both still stayed with the company. But Smash eventually became the Repo Man, which I didn't figure that out until I was probably 17 or 18. I noticed that they both wore similar tattoos on their right or left arm, and I was like, I kept thinking to myself, Repo Man sounds so familiar. And then I looked and I was like, oh my God. And this is before I ever discovered Wikipedia and all that stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
was and I was like, damn, I was like, I never would have thought that Repo Man was Smash. I was like, that's fucking awesome. And then of course Crush, he had his many renditions in the WWF. But fun fact, Axe and Smash did not actually reunite until like 2007, 2008, something like that. So, I mean, they went 17,
Wait, for
18
real?
years. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They reunited. I think it was that promotion. It was called Chikara. And once they reunited, they started making more independent appearances together and stuff. My best friend, well, an old friend of mine, the one that I watched the pay-per-views with in Madisonville, he went to one of them. I don't know if it was a Comic Con or Horror Con or something, but he had a picture taken. He had a picture taken with Demolition, and he made sure to text message that to me. I said, "Dude, I said, dude, I hate you." I said, I was like, "I freaking hate you, man."
I
I've,
would have done the same. I
I've,
really would.
yeah. Oh, you would have texted me a photo. Okay. Well, you know what? You know what? It may not be Slugger Jackson that you have your first Naw match with, buddy. It may be with Grizzly Andrew.
Man,
No.
I would have FaceTimed you right there.
Oh man.
Be like, yo, look up.
Well,
I'm,
see, that was in 2012 when he sent that. Heck, we didn't have FaceTime. We had Skype.
yeah, I'll Skype you. Let me Skype you. I'm here with Demolition.
Oh man. They God almighty. It's crazy to think that they only had about a 4-year run with WWF, but man, I mean, they set a precedent. They were originally the longest reigning tag team champions up until the New Day broke that. And
The day.
this is just the theory with why they had the New Day do that. And this is just the theory, but well, first off, New Day deserved it. I mean, my God, they were the most over team for a very long time. But Demolition had there was a lawsuit back in 2017. It was about fuck. It was basically concussion related and stuff, and like a crap ton of legends joined in on that lawsuit, and Demolition were two of them. And I think
Ooh,
and I think that's why Vince had New Day break their record just out of spite, because Vince is an egomaniac, you know. And that's my reason. That's my theory with why I think the New Day broke Demolition's record. I don't remember the exact amount of days, but like they won them the first time at WrestleMania 4 in 1988 when they beat Strikeforce, and that was March or April of '88. They lost the belts to the Brainbusters, which for those of you who don't know, the Brainbusters were two of the Horsemen from NWA, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, and I think it was July of '89. So I mean, you got to think they went 15 to 16 months being the champs, and then they lost them. So yeah, and New Day held them for God knows how long.
You said 16 months.
They had them for about 15, 16 months.
Dude,
If my math is correct, which math was not my best subject back when I went to school. So, but yeah, it was March or April of '88 that they won them, and then they lost them in July of '89 at a Saturday night's main event.
you got knowledge. You got good wrestling knowledge.
Well, about if it's Golden Era WWF or even Monday Night Wars WWF WCW or Attitude Era, it's pretty decent. I don't really follow much of the product nowadays. I mean, I'll read like the wrestling headlines on the internet and stuff, but I'd started watching WWE again uh, at the Elimination Chamber, and I was really impressed. And I actually watched night one of WrestleMania, but I couldn't watch night two. Um, Night one, I was impressed with some, but it's just not the same as it was back in the old days when the fans were out of their seat, from start to finish. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Night two of WrestleMania was for me. I was so happy at the end of that when Cena won. Not to be
Oh, mm-hmm.
not to be a marksman. I was going nuts when Cena won because I wanted him to win the 17 title for years. For years.
Well, and here's the thing, and I'm not knocking on Ric Flair by any means. I mean, because Ric Flair is one of the best in the business.
I agree.
I don't really think the man. I don't. I think it's an accomplishment to win the world championship that many times, but at the same time, part of me kind of feels like it diminishes the championship a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Hmm.
just a little bit. Now, what really diminishes the belt is when it gets hot potatoed left and right. Month after month between the same two or three guys. You know, um, I think if you're going to be world champion, you ought to maybe not have as many reigns, but you need to have a lengthy reign, kind of like what Bruno had, kind of like what your best friend Hulk Hogan had. Um, you know, I get made fun of a lot because people say Hulk Hogan's my hero. I was like, no, fuck that. Hogan is not my hero.
Mm,
No,
mm,
no. When I was a kid, I was a Hulkamaniac, but then as I got older and I found out how Hogan really is, yeah, I was like, no, no, I'm good. He did a lot.
Bruno.
He did a lot for the business. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I mean, the guys and girls today wouldn't be making the big money, that they're making today if it wasn't for Hogan. So I mean, I will give him props
That
on
is true.
that. Um, but yeah, like I said, Flair was 16-time world champion. Um, but I know Cena's your boy. I kind of think they should have let that record stay intact, man, with Flair. Well, let me backtrack. Cena tied Flair, back in 2017. I think they should have left it at that. Um, it,
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with you. And back on how they put Cena down the fans' throats. I mean, it's kind of the truth, really. I mean, because no one really wins the WWE Championship that many.
hmm
Like anyone, I don't think anyone in the future is gonna do that unless they play hot potato with the belt.
yeah, yeah, and see him and Orton, um, back in '09, I believe it. Yeah, yeah, because this was right after I graduated college. Him and Orton were hot potatoing the belt. Oh, uh-oh. I said belt. I hope Vince doesn't find me for that.
Oh man.
But no, him and Orton were hot potatoing the belt. And and Flair and Savage, even back in 96, 90, into 95, going into 96, they hot potatoed the world championship belt multiple times. And it's like, hmm,
Yeah, you're just getting your number up at that point.
right. And, let's look, and, and looking back, I mean, there were guys that, that never won the belt, that should have. I mean, fuck, Jake Roberts. That's the first person that comes to mind. Jake the Snake Roberts never won a fucking championship when he wrestled for Vince. Never.
That's that's crazy to think about.
Yeah. And I mean, he's you know, him and Ted DiBiase, at that, really great technical wrestlers, DiBiase never won, you know, never won the gold belts, except the tag team belts. I mean, then he had his $1 million championship.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they were, and Jake, one of the best in ring psychologists of all time. I mean, I don't think anybody would ever debate that. But yeah, I just, and did Jake really need the belt? No. I think the belt needed Jake. Let's just be real. I think the belt needed Jake.
Yeah.
Um,
Doesn't the wrestler make the belt?
that's how it should be. Yeah, the wrestler should
Yeah.
make the belt. Actually, let me ask you on this. In 2017, and this was like the biggest swerve ever pulled on wrestling ever. When Jinder Mahal defeated
Oh
Randy
my.
Orton and won the belt, me and my buddies were watching that pay per view, and we just were like, "Are you?" I mean, we actually popped, because somebody different was the champion, but we were like, "What the hell?" I mean, they pretty much built this guy as an enhancement guy for years, and and now he comes back, he's all jacked up looking and stuff, and then he has a run with the title, and it's like, what the fuck?
I if I recall, wasn't that on a random SmackDown? I
uh,
can't
what?
remember if it was on like a pay per view or a random SmackDown, but I have a feeling SmackDown.
Well, now it was a pay per view that Mahal won the belt. It might have been. It was a month or so after Mania. I do remember that. Now, when Mahal lost the belt, it was actually on a SmackDown to AJ Styles. It was actually in November, shortly before Survivor Series, and at the time it was going to be Jinder Mahal representing SmackDown as the WWE champion, and then Brock was going to represent Raw as the Universal champion in a champion versus champion match because they at that time they had been doing stuff like that, Raw versus SmackDown, champion versus champion, etc. Well, it was either the SmackDown before or a couple of SmackDowns before Survivor Series. AJ Styles had won the belt from Jinder Mahal, and rumor had it is that Brock didn't want to work with Jinder Mahal. Rumor and innuendo. But then it switched to AJ versus Brock at Survivor Series, and to be quite honest with you, AJ versus Brock was a lot better. Would have was definitely a lot better than what a Jinder Mahal Brock match would have been. So.
Yeah. Jinder Mahal. People call that the worst of all time, but I mean, I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I got.
Well, I believe Vince and maybe your other best friend Triple H. I think they were really.
Woo! Love Triple H. Love Triple H.
um, uh, I got a funny one for you here in a second, but I know they're really trying to appeal to the market in India, and and they didn't have the Great Khali anymore. I mean, he made a random one-off appearance in one of them gender Randy rematches. It was actually in that Punjabi prison match, but I think they were trying to expand their market to India, and I guess they thought that Jinder Mahal would have been a good would have been a good fit for them and stuff. But but I mean, honestly, I'm not going to take anything away from Jinder Mahal. When he did come back, I mean, he obviously did put some work into bettering his appearance and stuff and all that. And Vince saw something, which you know as well as I do, and I'm sure our listeners know. Vince was really big into bodies. He liked bodybuilder physiques. You know, um,
Absolutely.
and Ultimate Warrior was a prime example of that. 200, 6 foot two, 6 foot three, a 270 something pound bodybuilder. I mean, and if you had charisma, didn't matter if you couldn't work, but if you had the look and the charisma, by God, you're going to get pushed to the moon. So,
Right.
um, but Triple H. So, um, are you familiar with his days in WCW by any chance?
Um, Triple H in WCW?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay. So, and for our younger listeners, so Triple H did wrestle in WCW prior to going to work for Vince. He started out, I don't know who the hell gave him this name, but it was called Terra Ryzen.
Wait, wasn't he like has a wait? Didn't he have like a French gimmick?
Yes, sir. That came right after. Yeah, when they realized
And
they couldn't market Terra Ryzen, he became Jean Paul Levesque, which was basically a precursor for Hunter Hearst Helmsley, when he went to WWF. But yeah, he was Jean Paul Levesque, but Gordon Soley, God rest his soul, he referred to Triple H as Jean Paul Levesque.
right,
So here's where the story comes in. So back in 2015, which they've got that whole the authority storyline and all that, and Jamie Noble was part of the J&J security that Dolph Ziggler, uh, you know, uh, adequately named him and Joey Mercury as. And which Jamie Noble, he's got the southern accent, southern twang or whatever. And I said, guys, I said, Jamie Noble's probably saying to Triple H in the back, Mr. Gene Paul, Mr. Gene Paul, Mr. Gene Paul, I don't like getting beat up by Brock Lesnar. Mr. Gene Paul, I need a pay raise, shit like that. So trying to play on, and they got a little kick out of it. It did get a little bit old after a while, so I thought I'd just reminisce on some little nostalgia, back in my Mark days, as some people would call him. But yeah, Gordon Soley called him Gene Paul Levesque.
I love so actually you watch old WCW.
I watched some old WCW on Saturdays, which they had their weekly Saturday night shows on TBS, and then they'd also have their morning shows. It was they called it Worldwide, and there was another show. It was like WCW Pro, something like that. I can't remember. Usually on the morning shows, Eric Bischoff and Dusty Rhodes would do the commentary, and I think Larry Zabisco. And then of course Saturday night it'd be Shivani, Bobby Heenan, and I think Zabisco as well. They kind of flip flopped it. Um, the only time I'd watch any WCW pay per views, it would be like if I went up to Ohio to visit my grandparents, God rest both their souls, and we go to the video store and you could rent a shit ton of old school wrestling tapes. And sometimes I'd rent the WCW pay per views like Super Brawl or Bash at the Beach, And but definitely rented a lot of WWF Coliseum home videos. So ironically, folks, if you have Peacock, there a lot of the old Coliseum videos are actually on are on the Peacock app under the WWE section, and a lot of that, and they're also on YouTube as well. If you want to check that stuff out. So, but
Was it the VHS?
VHS, yes sir.
Oh man,
Oh yeah, yeah. We didn't have the luxury of hitting the skip button on like you could on a DVD player, or or um, well, you can fast forward, like if you're watching it on YouTube or on Peacock and stuff. Now, pretty much if you wanted to see something again, you had to get up, you had to go to the VCR, hit rewind, or if you had the remote, you had to hit rewind and all that. So yeah,
Yeah. I grew up. I grew up with DVDs. You know,
yeah.
like I remember, like I could recall a lot of DVD cases of
Hmm.
just pay-per-views. Like I remember I had this one that was best moments of 2011 in a DVD. Like DVDs, man. That's why I grew.
You cut out on me, boss.
Man, I'm about to throw this phone across the room.
What kind of phone do you use, man?
I'm currently on the iPhone 11.
Okay, I've got a iPhone XS. Who's your provider?
If I remember correctly, Cricket.
Oh, okay. I've got Spectrum. I've never used Cricket before, but I've been using Spectrum for about I think it'll be about 5 years. It'll be 5 years in September, I think, give or take. So,
Cricket is shit in the bed right now.
Cricket
Cricket.
Cricket reps, if you hear this, you need to you need to better your signal. What the hell, man? But
Cricket. So Cricket's okay.
um, you said you collected a lot of wrestling DVDs.
Yes, I had a lot of DVDs, just pay-per-views and just like Monday Night Raw moments and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I so my first DVD player was actually my PlayStation 2. Um, Original PlayStation wouldn't play DVDs, but PlayStation 2 would, and yeah, I couldn't tell you how many wrestling DVDs I watched on that system, and then eventually I switched over to Xbox, and um, I,
Yeah.
I know I had an Xbox 360, and I know I wore that sucker out because I'd put in a rest like a golden era DVD. Like I had some box sets for like Summer Slams and Survivor Series and stuff, and I'd play them, and then I'd be in my recliner. It was a fucking comfortable recliner. I wish that thing wouldn't have broke on me, but I'd fall asleep in the recliner watching the pay per views, and the one I got home from work on a Friday, and I laid down in my recliner. I had Survivor Series 1987 playing, and I mean it wasn't nothing. I was out. Well, when I woke up, it was dark outside. I checked my phone. It was after midnight. I said, "Oh my God, I've been asleep for 8 hours." and that
Mm.
and that DVD just still kept playing the intro and stuff and all that over and over again.
Did it just loop?
Do what?
Did it just loop?
Yes, sir. It just kept looping.
I like how you mentioned that. I had an Xbox 360 when I was younger, and I also used it for DVDs.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Getting to watch DVDs on the gaming systems and stuff, man. I mean, it was one less device you had to hook up and all that, and yeah, it was pretty freaking convenient. Uh,
Yeah, I mainly watch on my like 360 a bunch of SpongeBob.
really.
Yeah. Season 1 through 3 of SpongeBob. Look, to this day, I still think that it's the best television out there.
Okay. Um, I watched a few episodes of SpongeBob. I mean, I thought they were pretty hilarious, actually. Um,
SpongeBob, SpongeBob. Man, I grew up. Man, man, when I was younger, I was watching wrestling and SpongeBob. That was my shit. Right.
um, I completely understand where you're coming from. Whenever I was a kid, I grew up watching wrestling, and I watched a lot of Nickelodeon. It was which back then it was like Doug, Rugrats.
Yeah.
I hated Ren and Stimpy. That show was so stupid.
What?
Uh, oh me. Uh,
Ren and Stimpy?
I, I At first it was funny, but then it just got kind of stupid at some point. I just quit watching it.
I'm surprised I know what Ren and Stimpy is. I used to watch Ren and Stimpy on DVD,
Hmm.
and I loved Ren and Stimpy back then.
Yeah, man, those shows came out like 91, 92. Um, yeah, I watched a lot of it back then. Then then of course back in the early '90s, Power Rangers was a bit, had started up. So yeah, as a kid, I watched a lot of that.
I never
Um,
get Power Rangers.
do what?
I never could get into Power Rangers. I think.
No, I get it. I get it, and it wasn't for everybody. I guess it was probably right before I went into middle school. I quit watching it. Um, which I know hell hell they've had seasons, going on. I think they've still got it going to this current day, but it's a different cast, and then some different theme, well, I can't really say different theme. They're like recycling the old themes, but they're just rebranding it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, I there was a show I watched on Nick. It was a Jimmy Neutron.
Woo! I would watch. Yeah, you can tell if I like some if I say woo. Like but Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy Neutron is tough. I
uh,
didn't watch a lot of it, but when I did watch it, I loved it.
Gosh, the brain blasts were always hilarious. Having a mechanical dog, I mean, come on. Let me think. My mom, oh Lord, my mom, she, she would sound like that old woman teacher, Miss Fowl or whatever. She actually could do a
Oh,
pretty good impersonation of her.
really?
Yeah, God.
Do you ever watch like adult cartoons like Family Guy and stuff?
I tried watching Family Guy. I got into about 3 seasons of it, and after that, I just could not get into it.
I
Uh,
love that.
but let me think. Yeah, I just could not get into it. Now I did watch King of the Hill.
King of the Hill. Boy, I tell you what.
Yeah, yes, sir. I had the first 6 seasons on box set, and then let's see. Then eventually, I finally started streaming and stuff, and I got that Disney Hulu package, and I finally got to watch the whole series and stuff and all that, and found out they're doing a sequel to it. It's supposed to I think supposed to come out here in the next couple of months or so.
Yeah, I heard about that. And another thing that I found out recently, they added King of the Hill. Wait, that's the show with the four dudes with the beers in their hand, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I recently found out that they are in the game Fortnite.
No way.
Yeah, you can play as him and shoot people. No, you can play as you can play as what is it? What Hank Hill?
Hank Hill, yes, sir.
Yeah, you can play as Hank Hill while shooting John Fortnite.
Um, oh my gosh. Uh, Lord have mercy. Yeah, boy, I sell propane and propane accessories.
Yeah, you you can play. Yeah, you can play as him in Fortnite. You ever play Fortnite?
um, when I played a small little bit a couple of years ago. I don't really game a lot. But I played a little bit a few years ago. But I haven't really played a lot. I know that's been the big thing for a while.
I game. Like I gotta be honest. I game. I gotta be honest. When I'm not working out, when I'm not studying wrestling, when I'm not mowing a lawn, I'm probably playing the game.
Oh, damn, man. I've seen a lot of these YouTube channels where they do, where they have these mods and stuff like for certain games, and I'm like, oh my gosh, part of me wants to invest in a gaming computer and all that, or gaming system like that. But an old buddy of mine that from a previous shoot job I had, which he did a lot of that, and I asked him, I said, well, man, because I showed him one I thought about investing from Amazon. He's like, yeah, he said, you're going to need something a lot more expensive that's got a lot more storage and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Gaming computers are just out of my league.
Yeah. The last game I've played was Hogwarts Legacy on Xbox One. I actually played and beat it twice.
I
Um,
heard.
hmm.
Yeah, I've heard of. Seen some people play it. I never played it. I heard of it.
It is actually it's a really good game. I was really impressed with it. Games like that I like. I've played some Star Wars games. The first Force Unleashed is my favorite of all time. Played quite a few wrestling games.
Love wrestling games.
I'm ashamed to say the last wrestling game I've actually played was WWE 2K17. That I got that when I bought my Xbox One, and
Oh, okay.
but yeah, that's the last wrestling game I have gotten since then. So
Have you have you played any others?
um, since that one, no. Now I played other WWE 2K games. I had quite a few of the SmackDown versus Raws.
Oh yeah.
I played. I even at one time owned the WWF Warzone when it came out on PlayStation. I played WCW versus the World on PlayStation. I played WCW NWO World Tour and Revenge on it. Well, I didn't have an N64, but I knew some people that did. Um, yeah, man. Yeah, I played a lot of the classic games, but in regards to modern ones, no. I wanted to play the AEW game. I just never shelled out the money to purchase it though.
Yeah. I never. I mean, I looked at it. I see YouTubers play it. I have. I. I'm probably not gonna.
You cut out on me. What was that?
All right, I'm throwing a phone. And I said, I never got. I never got to play it. I've seen YouTubers play it.
um, I also did. I forgot. There was a these came out back in like the early 2000s. It was there was three of them. It was Legends of Wrestling. I did have all three of them, and the third one was my favorite. Because it had Warrior, obviously, but also Sting was in there. Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect. There's a shit ton of wrestlers in that game. Um, it did glitch a lot. I do remember that, but let me think. Then TNA had a video game that came out back in '08. Yeah, '08, because that's when they had the Suicide character actually debut for the show and stuff, like in late '08, early '09. The TNA game I wasn't too impressed with. It was okay. It was okay, but the move sets were very limited and the entrances weren't very long. They were very brief. Um, it had the potential, but just didn't really deliver like it should. Henceforth, they never made another TNA game after that. So,
Oh man, the the WWE SmackDown versus Raw is they own childhood.
hmm.
Like they really did.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are some great games. Uh, the which I did play the SmackDown games that came out on PlayStation. I guess I'll say Here Comes the Pain was really good. I'm sure you would have liked that because it had your boy John Cena with the Thugonomics gimmick.
Hey,
But honestly, Shut Your Mouth, I think was I like that one just a little bit more because it had the commentary, and Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. I mean, just hands down, incredible
Man,
commentary team. Um,
those are my favorites of all time. Jerry Lawler and Jim. Man, they're my favorite.
for like Attitude Era onward, yes, those two are my favorite. Now, my favorite Golden Era uh, pairing was Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura. Uh, Now, don't get me wrong, Gorilla and Bobby Heenan were hilarious together. I will say that they were definitely hilarious together. Just some of the stuff Bobby Heenan would say were just off the wall. But yeah, Jesse Ventura and Gorilla were great. Uh, Hell, even Ventura and McMahon when they were paired together, like for Superstars and Wrestling Challenge and Saturday Night's Main Event. I mean, they had good chemistry together.
Yeah.
Um,
I
Go ahead.
like I feel like the video games I played
Hmm.
definitely. I remember you said the United Zombies, but those zombies video games are my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's this fine game, and it's my favorite game of all time, and it's called Left 4 Dead 2.
I'm familiar with it.
Really,
Hmm.
that's my favorite game of all time.
Really.
Absolutely, that game ruled my childhood.
Oh man. I mentioned about the Force Unleashed, the first one. Um, and it was the version I had on PS2, and I played that game all freaking night until like 7 o'clock in the morning, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just it was addictive. What can I say? Very,
I,
very, very addictive.
this is a this is gonna be very random question,
Okay.
but I remember you talked about this. Remember how you said you would walk in the gym and walk out listening to Demolition theme song?
Hmm.
Do you typically listen to WWE theme songs while you work out?
Sometimes. So I have a playlist. I've got Apple Music, and you know, you can you can make your own playlists and stuff. I actually have a playlist that's labeled wrestling themes slash instrumental slash movie themes, etc. So
Yeah,
yeah, there are times I will work out to wrestling themes.
I respect that because I do it. I do it as well. My I I definitely listen to the Triple H theme song when I work out.
Hmm.
That King of Kings theme song. Cody Rhodes' theme song is a really good one. I love working to this.
Yeah, man. If there was one theme that I could actually work out to that was actually available on Apple Music, and it would be Kenny Omega's New Japan entrance theme. They had a more rock version of it, but it just wasn't like what he had in New Japan. But hell, it'd be nice to be able to work out the Demolitions theme on Apple Music instead of having to pull it up on YouTube. Like you can't get it
I
on
need
there, but you can get it on Spotify, which is really weird. So
I need to look that up. I never, yeah, looked at that. 'Cause I never make a theme in New Japan.
uh, it was oh god, dude, it was fucking awesome. Uh, it was awesome. That's all I can really say.
It,
Um, but Mr. Cornett, if you happen to listen to this, I know you're going to hate my guts even more. Sorry. But Mr. Cornett, you're my favorite wrestling personality, podcaster, manager of all time. I mean, you can take that for what take that for what it's worth. But please don't hate me because I like Kenny Omega. So, um, yeah.
wait, I'm confused. So Jim Cornette and Kenny Omega,
Hmm.
what do they not like each other?
Cornette is not a he's not a fan of Omega. There's a clip or so on podcast or not that he's done from his podcast, and been posted on YouTube. Um, he so you know, I'm trying to word this as best as I can. Um, so Omega wrestled for, I believe it was called DDT over in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a wrestling match with a 9-year-old girl.
What?
Yes,
That's
and
up.
and if
I
I'm
mean,
and if I'm not
okay.
if I'm not mistaken, I believe that 9-year-old girl is the girl known as she was the known as I believe it was Riho in AEW. She was the
Mm-hmm.
first AEW Women's Champion. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, this happened many years ago. And of course, I'll spare you the details, but basically, Cornette was not a fan after that. Um, hell, Omega's wrestling partner, Kota Ibushi, they were known as the Golden Lovers back then. Ibushi had a match with a blow up doll. You cannot make this shit up. I actually watched this on YouTube. I was really shocked to see this happen. But yeah, Ibushi had a match with a blow up doll.
I mean, was it a good match at least?
Well, I'll say this. I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that Ibushi was able to pull it off. I mean, the fact
What?
the he actually pulled it off. It should still be on. I don't know if it's still on there, but if but folks, you can look up Kota Ibushi versus Blow Up Doll. Yeah, if you see that, yeah, then you'll understand why Cornette's not a fan of those two. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's a fan of the Young Bucks either. Um,
My
and
mind's blown. I'm sorry. No, that's new to me. I genuinely didn't know that.
well, I've listened to a lot of Cornette's stuff on YouTube, and and I've got nothing but respect for the man. I mean, from we're polar opposites in a lot of ways, but I mean, I've got a lot of respect for the business, and I respect his take on things in the wrestling business, and I totally side with him, on a lot of things, um, especially when it comes to Vince Russo, or as Cornette calls him, the Archbishop of Talentberry. Um, Honestly, I understand why he left WWE. I understand why he left and went to Ohio Valley Wrestling. I totally get it, and I definitely understand where he's coming from. He, but honestly, he's definitely somebody that's needed for like creative or booking. Well, actually, they don't like to use the word bookers anymore, so I'm sure Vince will find me for that too. But
Yeah.
but uh
Fuck yeah.
but I mean, you don't need a fucking creative team. You don't need all these writers and shit. Just go. I mean, people probably think I'm an old school wrestling zealot, and if they do, that's fine. I mean, I take pride in that. But you don't need a fucking team of writers. Get your experienced bookers or agents, whatever it is you want to call them. And let these guys go out there and guys and girls go out there and do their thing. You know, I mean, that's what they did back in the old days. you know,
I got you. I got you. Nah, that's. I didn't even know that. Like, really,
you didn't know what you cut out on me.
man. Phone.
uh,
Window.
uh, so if Mama Banks or Papa Banks, if you come home and you see a bunch of holes in the walls, it is from. If you go to Freddy's house and you see a bunch of holes in the wall, you'll know it's because he flung his phone. So
I want. I could put my AirPods in, but I don't want. I don't.
I,
Or,
I don't know, brother. If you put your AirPods in, I mean, I can hear you just fine. But I don't think it'll pick you up on this recording app though. If you do,
oh well.
that's perks of technology. Next time we'll have to go live, and if I have to drive up there, then that's perfectly fine too, man. So that's
Yeah. Next time.
that's actually what I did for the first episode I had with Ben and Trevor Johnson. So
I
And
remember that.
yeah, I'd actually taken my daughter. I'd actually taken my daughter to the doctor, and over in Madisonville, and I won't mention where they live at, but they actually live on my way home, and so I stopped over there, and I did it from the residence. So Grizzly's Cave went mobile that day, and that was also the day that I found out that Spotify only allotted for 3 hours because the original episode when it was like almost 4.5 hours long, and
Oh,
when I uploaded it, it only uploaded 3 hours and didn't have anything else. And I'm like, well, my recorder app was going just fine. It kept going. But yeah, it cut it off after 3 hours. So that's why we had to do a part two at that point.
oh man. Wait, so like, I bet like in the middle of a sentence it just stopped.
Yes, sir. That's what that's what Hank told me. He said he was listening and it just cut out. I said, "Yep." I said, "I found that out the hard way." So then a week later they came over to the cave, and we picked up where we left off, and we still almost went 3 hours.
Man, well, you said
Yeah, Hank Henry.
Hank Henry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hope he's listening. Huh?
do
I like Hank. He's funny.
oh, he is. He is. He's a great guy. Really great guy.
Yeah, that's grandpa right there. I call him grandpa.
Man, he's well, hey, hey, don't call him grandpa. I'm not that much younger. I'm not that much younger than he is, man. So
I mean, what? I didn't say grandpa.
he oh man, he a wealth of knowledge about the business. He has wealth of knowledge. Henry, if you happen to listen to this, Henry, you're a great guy. Um, great guy to work with. So yeah,
Hey
kudos to
Hank.
you. But fuck you, Kyle. Um,
Man, another one person down. Uh, one person down at training that I truly admire the hard work is Bo.
mm-hmm.
Bo, and he's great.
Oh yeah.
He is truly.
I'm gonna mention Chris again. Um,
Chris
I mean,
trash.
oh my gosh, man, the man that he has put in so much hard work from when when I first met him about a year ago to today. Oh my gosh, man, the improvements he has made is just
I
phenomenal.
know.
And Chris, if you happen to hear this, man, hopefully I can get you on an episode of Grizzly's Cave. But my hat's off to you, buddy, and I'm very proud of your improvements, and I'm proud of what you've accomplished of being able to, what you've accomplished in the ring, and there's great things ahead for you, buddy. I believe that. So definitely my hats off to him, and
Yeah, that's
um,
often.
but fuck you, Kyle. Um, anyways, but
Hope that becomes man. If that goes over,
do what now?
imagine if that went over with the internet.
Well. If it did, then I mean, I don't know if we wouldn't be able to call it a family-friendly promotion anymore. Then, oh,
I can little kids saying that.
oh, shoot, fire. Mm.
I can imagine that.
I better not hear I mean, my daughter's 12 years old. I mean, I better not hear her talking like that. That's for dang sure.
Oh man,
Me.
hope not.
She's my little diva. Well, she can't really call her little diva because she's almost as tall as I am now. But she can be a diva at times. So, but
Pro wrestling.
well, it's funny because and JC knows about this, and so does Justin Styles. It was actually because of Justin Styles I got involved. That I'd actually heard of Naw,
Mm-hmm.
and I was gonna come to the April show of last year. It was the weekend I had Brianna, and I said, "Well, honey," I was like, "Would you like to go with this with me? Go to this with me?" That's just not my thing. I said, "Okay." And the May show came around. I was like, "Well, Bria's like, I was like, I think we ought to go. You want to go with me?" Um, that's just not my thing. That's your thing, Dad.
My thing.
Yeah, and then finally the June show for last year came around. I didn't even bother asking. I said, "Get ready, we're going to the show." So, and ironically, that was the show where AC, well, AC Flash, turned on JC Flash, and then eventually became Alexander Cage. Um,
mm,
I was actually there when I was sitting next to the fan that got lippy with Coy Daniels,
yeah.
and my buddy, I've seen him at his biggest, working out wise, and he was a monster. And I mean, he was still in good shape then. And I remember I'm sitting next to him. I said, "Jeremy, you might want to sit down, buddy. Jeremy, sit down, buddy. Come on, man."
Uh,
And even security was telling him, "Sit down, sir. Sit down," etc. And I couldn't hear what Jeremy was saying, but and I don't know Coy, the first episode I had with him, he didn't really say what was mentioned, but it wasn't a good thing basically. And yeah, I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "This is the first event I brought my kid to, and she's about to see it. See, it's about to get pretty bad here pretty soon."
oh, do you know DD, right?
Oh, DD Jinx. Yeah, I know of him. Yes, sir.
Yeah, DD. There was this. I was sitting watching the show, buddy, and he was yelling at this person, and he was yelling and like he moved the gate and everything. Like it was like you know that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw that.
That was crazy. He was screaming at this person. Like, man, DD is. Oh man, he's good.
Yeah, man. I've seen his work, which before I ever saw him, I'd heard of him, and but when I saw him, I was like, God, I was like, this guy's a damn good wrestler. I know
Yeah,
that I know the fans can't stand him because but because he's with the Nightmares of Naw. But I mean, you take that away, and you see he's a fucking good worker.
that is true. If he wasn't a part of Nightmare and all, maybe, maybe me and him could be friends. But
Well, I understand where you're coming from, man. I totally get it. I totally get it. And the uh, you know, I talked about with Coy on the last episode, about about introducing his nephew, about how his nephew got introduced as the insurance policy for Naw. And I had mentioned to Coy, I said, "Man," I said Slugger Jackson must he's like a cult leader, it seems like, you know, and or either that or his back pocket's loaded with a bunch of money or something. Who knows? But
it might be just a bunch of money.
yeah, I mean, it could be, because I mean, he doesn't strike me as a Jim Jones drink the Kool Aid type of guy, but I don't know, just he must be his bank account must be loaded to get all these people that he's got.
I mean, it has to be though, right?
Has to be. Has to be. I would bet some of Slugger's money and say that he really had to pay some heavy dollars to get DD Jinx to come down from Indiana. So
DD's from Indiana.
I know I've heard that he wrestles in Indiana.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, yeah. Down at TCW, I seen him.
Yeah, I don't know where he lives. I would be interested in having him on Grizzly's Cave as well. Um,
Well, be careful.
yeah, yeah, I know. Seeing some
Oh,
of his antics and stuff. There's no telling, man.
those Nightmare and Knowledge, you gotta keep an eye out for those games.
Yeah, yeah, I do, man. Yeah, I still think I maybe if I have them on the show, I definitely need to have some backup with me or something, man. So, but I definitely ain't gonna. I definitely don't want Slugger Jackson on here because fuck, I wouldn't be nobody be able to get a word in. You know.
I don't think anybody wants Slugger Jackson on anything.
Well, I don't really blame him. He's a fucking asshole. Um,
True.
but there's another kid in the training. Um, uh, we got so many people of the same first name. Legrand.
Zach LeGrand?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's really good. I like his background.
I had pitched the idea to him. I said, man, I told him, I said, man, I said, I think we'd be a good tag team together. And but he'd said he'd be more. I think he'd be more interested in doing being a singles wrestler. I was like, well, I said I understand that. I get that.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I like his background in amateur wrestling,
Yeah,
and he's just giving me shades of Kurt Angle.
yeah, definitely with that. But and he's got a little. He said he's got a little bit of a. I think he said he's got a little bit of a background in powerlifting, and when he said that as well, I was like, God, he could be kind of a mixture of Angle and Ken Patera, but Patera wasn't actually a power lifter. He was an actually Olympic weightlifter. Um, yeah, don't Ken Patera, which he's way back in the day. He actually competed in the '72 Olympics over in Munich,
Really?
and he set a lot of records back in the late '60s, early '70s. He's actually the first man to ever overhead press 500 pounds.
That is insane.
Um, he worked various territories. He started out in the AWA with the Ganyas. He eventually he did some tours with the WWF. He did wrestle at Mid Atlantic, which was the Jim Crockett territory. I think he might have also done some time at Portland Wrestling as well. But yeah, Legrand kind of reminds me of both. He's like a hybrid of Kurt Angle and Ken Patera.
That is true. That
Um,
is true.
uh,
I
Go
one
ahead.
time I spoke to him. One time I spoke to him, and he said that he benches like 300 to 400 pounds or something like that.
I believe that. Best I ever benched was about 340, and I mean, God, that takes man, that fucking takes a toll on your body. Um,
I'm,
but yeah,
getting,
I could see him definitely bench pressing that for sure.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Right now, my PR max is right now 185, one, and once I hit 200, so happy.
Well, buddy, let me tell you, when I started working out, I was 5'10". Well, my current height, but I was about 135 pounds.
Really?
Yes,
Wait, how much were you benching?
buddy, I was lucky to be able to bench press the bar when I was
Oh,
135 pounds. Um, uh, Thankfully now I can bench press way more than that now, but I haven't attempted to max anything in a very long bench press in a very long time just because of the shoulder injuries and all that, and again my body don't recover like it used to. Um, but now I'm about 230. Um, yeah, the heaviest I ever got up to is about 252, 253 at one point. Um,
oh,
yeah, it was actually whenever I started doing when I started getting more into the compound lifts and stuff back in 2014. I started to build up some more size, than what I'd originally had. So, um, but yeah, no, Legrand's impressive. Hell, he's actually come and asked me about some stuff, and I'd said, well, I said, Ben, because he was complimenting my upper back, and I said, well, bent over barbell rows really help with that. I said, but it's also good to help building your arms and a little bit with building your legs too. So he knows I'm a compound guy as well. So,
I was doing rows yesterday.
oh yeah.
Yeah, back back in sophomore year of school,
Mm-hmm.
like I was having trouble benching at like 60. And junior year, at the end of junior year of high school, I was benching like 180, like 180.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Um, I think I think by the time I graduated high school, God, that's such a long time ago. Um, I think I think I'd finally gotten up to about 200 or maybe 205, give or take. Um, I mean, it wasn't impressive because it wasn't too impressive. I mean, it was a little bit more than what I was weighing when I graduated, but yeah, I mean it. Here's the thing. Some people don't realize is that you've got to, it ain't just the chest and stuff. You got to have good tricep strength. You got to have shoulder strength, and even leg strength as well. To help give you that little bit of a leg drive whenever you're pushing the weight up and stuff.
yeah,
Um, that I couldn't tell you how many videos I watched about a little over a decade ago of better, proper bench technique and stuff because I was always a wide grip whenever I'd bench press. And granted, it made it a little bit easier, but it put so much strain on my shoulders, and so then I had to do some adapting and all that. And I used this thing, it's called a slingshot. Um, it's kind of like a bench shirt, so to speak, but you just put it around your elbows and stuff. People would say that's cheating, but honestly, it's helped me out a lot, and I haven't been nearly as injured as much from using it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And it does help you increase your weight as well. So, but with that said, yeah, there's so many different muscles that go into with the bench press, and but no, man, heck, 185. That's good. That's really good.
Thank
Oh, you're welcome, bub.
you.
Um, uh, I will say this though, definitely don't try to max out a whole bunch. Because I made that mistake, and unfortunately now I'm kind of paying for it to this day. So,
Of course, yeah.
uh,
I see people do be talking about don't go for your max like every week. You know, like you know what I mean.
yeah, no, you're right because there are like if let's just hypothetically say if you're trying to become more of a power lifter and stuff, heck that the they'll have a split where like you don't try to go for your max, but like maybe every 7 or 8 weeks, you know, that way you can slowly progress and build up to that point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. It's good. It's good to satisfy the ego and your pride and everything when you can, increase your max every week. But eventually, you'll plateau, and then also again, your body will pay the price for it. I actually didn't really start getting into doing squats until about a decade ago. I just never got into. I never did like squats, and I don't really do ass to grass squats. Um, I would squat down to like a bench. I'd have like a bench or a box or something underneath me, Um, that way, if I did get stuck, I wouldn't be squashed like an accord. I wouldn't be squished like an accordion. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, so folks, I'll throw this out there too. Squats are a big, big thing. If you don't do them, start doing them now.
I agree. I agree. Do a lot, especially if you want to have a big show.
What was that, buddy? You cut out on me.
On the phone again.
Throw it again. That's like hole number 8 or 9. Is that about right?
I said, if you want to be like John Cena, have big shoulder, the big show on your shoulders. You gotta, have that squat on you.
Oh hell yes. I didn't exactly uh, add up the weight, but I remember watching him do squats, and I was like, "That's a lot of plates on there." I couldn't remember if he had 4 or 5 plates on each side. Um, and folks, when I say 4 or 5 plates, I mean like 45-pound plates added on there with a 45-pound bar. But yeah, he was repping them like it was nothing, and I was like, "Man, that's impressive."
Yeah. I think I seen uh, a picture of John Cena doing a overhead press like 400 pounds.
Oh my god, man.
Like I remember it was one of those like it was one of those, like John Cena like workout
Mm-hmm.
from back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was doing.
There was a video I watched. It was a YouTube video. Him and well, he's in AEW now as Claudio Castagnoli, but he was in WWE as Cesaro. And pound for pound, I'd say Cesaro was one of the strongest. And he didn't look like he didn't look. You look at him, you're like, there's no way. But I mean, the dude was just fucking strong as all get out. And they were doing like Olympic lifts. They were doing overhead snatches. They were doing clean and presses. And I mean, it was just incredible seeing how much strength these guys had when they were doing that. It was just like wow, you know.
Like that.
There was a match that I saw with Claudio. He wrestled the late Brody Lee. I believe it was an ROH show, and they had a cage match. And for Brody Lee was about 6'6", probably close to 300 pounds. Cesaro put him up in a fireman's carry, and then he overhead pressed this man, and then threw him into the cage.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's an old clip. Um, it was last time I saw it. It was about a year ago on YouTube. It might still be on there. It was like kind of like it showed the highlights of the match, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, that is fucking incredible.
that,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Well, hell, one of the biggest impressive feats I saw him do, and you'll remember this. It was WrestleMania 30 back in
Oh yeah.
2014. The first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and when he won it, he picked up Big Show, who was between 450 500 pounds, and freaking picked him up like he was gonna slam. Well, he did slam him. He slammed him over the top rope. I mean, just fucking incredible.
That is crazy. I remember how the crowd was when he did that too.
Hmm.
Like I bet he felt great going back.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And in
Knocked out.
yeah, that's another one that Vince could have really pulled the trigger on him and didn't do it. And Stone Cold even said something to Vince when Vince was on Austin's podcast, and he said, because he even questioned Vince about it, and Vince, basically danced around it, but was like, "Oh, well, there's just something missing. There's that it factor that's missing." And I'm like, yeah. And the crazy thing was, the guy was so over with the fans between the Cesaro swing, when he would run to the corners and hit his opponents with the running European uppercut, the feats of strength the man did. And hell, there was one thing he did where he had a match with Roman Reigns, and he was up on the top turnbuckle. Roman charged at him. He fucking cartwheeled from the top rope back into the ring, and I was like, what is there that this guy cannot do? I mean, hell, he was busting out 619s at one point, and uh, he he had kind of a gimmick where he would walk out looking like James Bond, and wearing like a James Bond type suit or tuxedo, and he take the suit off and stuff, and then go to the ring and have his match and stuff. And I mean, he was over. And again,
He was.
Mr. McMahon, didn't push him, and I mean that guy should have had a world championship run at some point. Um,
Yeah, he's definitely one of those that should have gotten it.
well, I told you earlier that I was starting to get back into watching WWE, and then they released Braun Strowman again, and then I was like, no, nah, I'm done. I'm gonna quote Hogan here. That don't work for me, brother. Um,
Yeah,
Braun,
I was back in September 30th, 2024. I saw Big Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman in a street fight, and they broke the ring. Like I was there at they broke the ring in a superplex, and I was going ape shit.
oh man, and that ring don't break very often. It's usually a rarity when it happens.
It really don't break often. It really don't.
Um, that would be probably the fourth time that I've known it to break. Um, First time was Brock and Big Show in '03. Second time was Mark Henry and Big Show in
Vengeance.
Vengeance 2011. Yes, sir. The next one was Big Show and Braun Strowman in 2017. And then this one with Braun and Bronson Reed.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They spaced it out, thankfully, you know, thankfully they spaced it out, but damn.
So that
Uh,
means that for a while.
no, it probably won't happen for a while. No, sir. But no, man, they hell, Braun Strowman was fucking over, and he was hot in 2017. His momentum was hot in 2017. His momentum really got hot in 2018, and
Oh, he was a monster.
yeah, and Vince didn't pull the trigger then. Um, when he won the Money in the Bank ladder match in 2018, I was like, okay, the push is finally going to happen. Nope, didn't happen, and I'm like, oh my god, Vince. Um, After WrestleMania in 2019, I pretty much just quit watching it at that point. I mean, I'd keep up with the headlines and stuff, and I felt bad for the big man because when he finally did win the belt, it was at a WrestleMania, but it was in front of nobody because of COVID and stuff.
That sucks. I mean, I can't. I mean, nobody was. Nobody really wanted to watch WWE in 2018, 2019.
No,
I didn't even watch WWE in 2018, 2019, 20.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't. Those are just unfortunate years for the WWE.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, I mean, and it really wouldn't have made much of a difference in regards to the crowd because they couldn't have a crowd back then. But honestly, I kind of think, what if they would have had if they would have had the Fiend versus Braun at WrestleMania instead of Goldberg and Braun?
Yeah,
I know they eventually, not too long after Braun won the belt, they eventually did go with Braun and Bray Wyatt in the storyline. But I kind of think maybe it would have been better if the Fiend would have still had the belt at that time going into
yeah,
Mania and had that match with Strowman. I think it would have been a much better. I think it would have been a much better match. In my opinion.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I did not mind the Firefly Funhouse match that he had with Cena. I'm not gonna lie.
Uh,
I was actually entertained by that,
yeah,
especially with the Vince McMahon puppet. Going, that's good shit.
that is. I remember that. Yeah, dude. I remember watching WrestleMania 36. Yeah, yeah. 2020 was WrestleMania 36.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I remember watching. I remember seeing it. I was just like, damn, like WWE right now. And I just I know I couldn't fully finish it.
Oh, speaking of the late Bray Wyatt, that's another guy that your boy John Cena killed his momentum. I hope you're happy.
I wouldn't say he killed his momentum.
Well, uh, I really well, he definitely killed Rusev's momentum.
Hmm. I'm not too sure about Rusev.
That's
I mean,
it. That's it. Freddie, you're fired.
well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would no. well, I'm trying to think. I would I wouldn't say he killed his momentum for Rusev, but people were pissed that Cena won.
Yeah.
That 31.
Well, getting back to Bray though, I mean, you got to think he made him and the Wyatt family made their main roster debut in August of 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a a pretty dominant showing in against Kane at that year's SummerSlam, and that well, they didn't call it an Inferno match. They called it a Ring of Fire match, but basically it was an Inferno match. But they had a lot of good momentum going, and and if you remember, Bray Wyatt even beat Daniel Bryan in that match at the Royal Rumble in 2014, the one that was Punk's last WWE appearance for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, and then the Wyatt family beat the Shield in at the next month at Elimination Chamber. I mean, they had a big thing going, and then and Wyatt's promos he cut on Cena and stuff was awesome. I mean, fuck. And then you think, okay, that this is going to be a really big moment for Bray Wyatt, and all of a sudden, no, John Cena wins. I'm like, are you kidding me? Uh then they had a follow up match the next month in a cage, and and Bray Wyatt won, and then they had another match. I think it was a ambulance match, I think, or a tables match. I can't remember, but then of course your boy John Cena won again, and uh, you know it took a little bit for what before Wyatt's momentum picked back up. And then Rusev, he was on this big undefeated streak for almost a year, and then his first loss came to Mr. Cena. You know,
Hey, his first loss had to come somehow.
oh come on, man, come on now. I mean, there could. I'm not saying I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but why John Cena?
yeah,
I,
yeah.
and I understand. That's your all time favorite, and I respect that. I mean, but yeah, I mean, all undefeated streaks come to an end eventually, but it could have been somebody. I think it could have been somebody else, um,
And
but
if it makes you feel better with Bray Wyatt, he got his get back at Elimination Chamber 2017.
yeah, that's true. I agree with you. Ironically, that
He
was
stole Cena's belt.
he he stole the belt. Yeah, that was ironically a month after Cena tied Flair's record. But
Mm-hmm.
but then what happened the month after Bray Wyatt won? He lost it to Randy Orton. And they were already a couple of years too late on. They were already 3 years too late on pulling the trigger on him. You know, and but I think they could have done a lot better with Bray. Now he eventually did get a little bit of retribution there a couple of years later when he brought the Fiend gimmick in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, God, that was a terrifying gimmick. He'd be like Mister Rogers one day, and then he'd be this crazy monster the next and stuff. And oh man, it's sad. It's sad to think that we lost him at such a young age too. I mean, hell, he was 3 years, 3 or 4 years, no, 3 years younger than me, man. And
Yeah,
it's
when
crazy.
Bray Wyatt passed, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, just well, and not only him, but a couple of years before, we lost Brody Lee, and I don't know. I don't know if you watched it, but AEW had this big had this episode of Dynamite. It was basically a Brody Lee tribute show, and dude, I mean, so many of them wrestlers were brought to tears. It actually brought me to tears. You know, I was he wasn't like my favorite wrestler, but but I definitely had a lot of respect for his work and I was in his matches and stuff, and he and obviously he was very well respected as a wrestler. Because seeing all these people in tears and stuff, and it was just like wow. Um, and then a couple of years later, we lost Bray. um, it's just really really sad. And
Yeah.
but yeah, trying to. It was really funny though. They named him Mr. Brody Lee in AEW, and he was apparently took some shots at Mr. McMahon. Um, yeah, so there was a scene where he was with the Dark Order, because he was the leader of them, and they were at a restaurant, and rumor had it was is McMahon had to finish his plate of food before anybody else could eat. That's just a rumor. Um, I did also hear Vince didn't like sneezing, spitting, or anything like that. And
I mean, that's sneezing.
I mean, it's going to happen. Sneezing's going to happen. But yeah, Vince didn't like that. And there was one of the Dark Order's guys sneezed or something, and Brody Lee quit eating. He looked up, stared at the guy, and verbally berated him and stuff, made him leave the table, and all this and that. And rumor had it was that was just that was just a shot at McMahon.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
That's actually what.
That's actually pretty clever. I
What?
respect that.
Well, when Rusev went to AEW and became Miro, his first promo he talked about the golden ring or brass ring, and CM Punk mentioned that in the infamous pipe bomb. Talked about the brass ring. Rusev or Miro said you can take that brass ring and shove it up your ass.
Damn.
Oh, Punk was like, I've grabbed so many of Vince McMahon's imaginary brass rings that's all they are is imaginary.
Damn. Dude,
Oh
that
man,
just hate me over here.
do what?
No, like, dude, like, there's. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I knew a lot about pro wrestling, but man, you know way more than me.
Well, and the sad part is there's so much that I don't know as well. Like with all these other with a lot of other promotions, whether it's here in the states or overseas, and independent promotions and stuff and all that. I mean, I'm very ignorant with that stuff, but I mean, I've got a lot of WW, which JC's an NWA guy. I was a Golden Era WWF guy. Um, I did learn a little bit about the AWA back when it was in operation. And again, folks, if you haven't heard my previous episode with Coy Daniels, I'd mentioned about with AWA. That's where a lot of the big names that you're familiar with in WWF, whether it was Hogan, Superstar Billy Graham, Ken Patera, Jesse Ventura. That's where a lot of them started at or came from before they went to work for Vince. So, yeah, just a wealth of knowledge there. I've spent a lot of time watching and listening to YouTube videos about wrestling and stuff, but there's still so much more that I don't know. Jimmy Cornette, that man has a vast wealth of knowledge. Um, just listening to him on Dark Side of the Ring talking about some stuff, I'm like, I didn't never even heard of this. Wow,
I
that
need to watch
go
Side of
ahead.
the Ring.
Do what?
I need to watch that Dark Side of the Ring.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely watch that. I mean, I've actually learned more stuff, just from watching that. Freddie, I hate to do this. I'm actually gonna have to cut that. We're actually almost at 3 hours, but
Heck
we're
yeah.
hell yeah, went by really
Hell
fast. We'll well, I definitely want to have you on again, and definitely need to have your tag team partner on here as well. Whether
oh hell
you two together, or him solo and then you two together or something. But yeah, definitely gonna have you back on. But before we go again, Freddie, it was an honor and a privilege having you on here, man. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this episode with me.
Of course, bro. Thank you. I'll be listening to this podcast, and I don't know it. Me, this is my first podcast, so I'm hell on it.
Well, I'll tell you what, maybe next time we can do one in person. We'll try and work that out somehow. So
Yeah, I hope so. This damn phone up.
it's all good, man. It happens. Hell, on some of my episodes with JC, his phone cuts out, and the one I had with Coy, his phone cut in and out some. So it happens. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But folks, again, the next NAW wrestling event will be Saturday, July the 12th, at the Nebo Community Center in Nebo, Kentucky. The show will start at 7 p.m. Doors will open at 6 p.m. Ticket prices are free for anybody ages 0 to 5, $5 for anybody ages 6 to 12, and $8 for anybody 13 and up. Concessions will be available, and I promise you won't be disappointed. It will be Rage in the Cage. And
Sir.
again, folks, the GoFundMe account is Help Ben Build a Future for Indie Wrestling Stars. Basically, folks, we're hoping to get enough donations to where we can have a permanent facility for the trainees and for future trainees. And the link is gofund.me/9, B as in boy, 2, F as in Frank, C as in Charles, 903. Folks, thank you again for your support and encouragement for this show. And again, Freddie, thank you so much again for being on here.
Of course, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that being said, for Freddie Banks, this is Grizzly Andrew signing off, saying take care and God bless.